Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the instance of operator. Now before we get into code, I want to mention that you should use this operator, you should try to avoid using this operator as much as possible. You should really only use it when you absolutely need to. Now I'll explain the times when you should use it at the end of this video, but in general, the instance of operator can be avoided by using polymorphism correctly. So let me just show you what the instance of operator does and how we use it, and then let me show you the correct way for using to replace it with polymorphism, and then I'll explain the situations in which you probably would actually need to use the instance of operator. Okay, let's get going. So right now we have the person class, the student class, and then the teacher class. The person class is a base class, it just contains this name and birth date. And then the student and teacher class, they both subclass person, and they add on, some more information. So now let's say that we add another class called principal. So this principal is a person, extends person, and then we need to add a constructor. So let's just store the date that the principal joined the school. Join date. So maybe the school was opened in 1970 and the principal joined in 1980. So date join date. Then we can just say join date is equal to join date. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we have three things that extend person. Let's say that we create each of these guys now. So let's say that we have a principal. Principal is equal to new principal. And then this principal, his name is Alex Smith. And yeah, let's change birth date is 0415. 23, 65. And then, okay, so, well, I guess this is as good time as any to explore how to actually set dates. So throughout this tutorial, we've so far just been using the current date as the date for, as for any date actually. So let's just set the date using something called the calendar class. So to do this, we do something called calendar.getInstance. So what we're going to do is we're going to initialize a calendar, and we're going to initialize it to today's date. Then we can just do calendar.set. So calendar.set. And this is a little annoying actually, but in order to do this, we say that calendar.set. We find a field inside of the calendar class, like calendar.year, and then we can set it to like 1965. And then we can do calendar.set. Come on. This is really annoying. Set, here we go, calendar.month, and then we'll set it to calendar. Okay, so the month is March. Then we can do calendar.set. Calendar.date. Yeah, I believe it's date. I guess I messed that up because this is the date that this is what is that? That's the birth date. So the birth date we're storing as a string, but the join date we want to pass it over here. So I think that the join date is 1980. So now all we do is we just do calendar.getTime. And that is going to return a date. So calendar.getTime, it just converts it into a date object. Anyways, we've created a principal. Now let's create a teacher. It's a new teacher. And now the teacher's name is going to be Alexis, and 5, 7, and then we'll say 1980. So now the school is going to be State, 2000, 20 years at the school. All right, and then finally we'll create a student. Students, Joey. Do we have a student? Yeah, we already have a student. We already have Joey up here. Line 14. So now what we're going to do is, let's say that, let's create a function. Void print do something. We'll just call it do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in a person into this do something method. Now the thing is, if the person that we pass in, the person could be a principal, the person could be a teacher, the person could be a student. All of these are persons because they subclass the person class. So we could do something with Joey. We could also do something with principal. We could even do something with Sally. And this all works because each of these objects, they extend or they subclass the person class. And so we're able to pass them into this do something method. This is critical. We're able to pass stuff into this do something method because we're looking for persons, and everything we're passing in above here subclasses the person class. Okay, so that's fine. And if we wanted to, we could extract a little bit of information from each person. We could extract the birth date, and we can extract the name. But this isn't sufficient in a lot of cases, because if the person is, for example, a teacher, then we might want to print out their salary, or we might want to print out the school that they belong to. So we want something kind of like this. If person is teacher, then do something here. Otherwise, if the person is maybe like a student, then do something else. And if the person is a principal, then do something else. Well, we can achieve that, we can get that desired goal by using the instance of operator. If the person is an instance of student, then we can just do this person is a student. Else if person instance of teacher, then we do system.out.println a teacher. Else if principal, then we just do system println this person is a principal. And now we can run this, and we should see student, principal, teacher in that order. And okay, let me get rid of all of these other lines that are printing stuff out. Comment that out, and now we run. Okay, yeah, so student, principal, teacher. And that worked fine. And now what we can do is we could, if we needed to, extract the teacher information. So right now we're working with the person. We're working with the person object, but we want the information stored within the teacher. We want maybe like access to this get salary function. To get access to that, we can use something called a downcast. So what we're going to do is we're going to do teacher casted teacher is equal to teacher person. So what this does is it takes this person object and it tries to cast it to a teacher object. This is going to work because we know that the person is a teacher, is an instance of teacher. If we're in here, then the person is a teacher, and so we're allowed to cast it. If we try to do the same thing up here, if we tried to put this line 53, inside of this if statement, our program would crash because the person is a student but is not a teacher. Student and teacher are unrelated classes. They both extend the person class, but they don't extend from each other, and so we would get a crash. So now we can do this. This person is a teacher who has a salary of plus casted teacher dot get salary. Notice that we couldn't do this, for example. We have to cast it because the person class doesn't have this get salary method. The casted teacher class has this get salary method, and so that's why we're able to call it when we cast it, because we're converting this person object into a teacher object. Okay, So now, what are problems with this approach? What we're doing is we're going through each type of basically subclass. We're going through student, teacher, principal, and we're doing something different for each of them. Now the problem is, suppose we add another class. Suppose we add maybe like a janitor class, or a secretary class, or I don't know, maybe like an aid, like an aid worker. We can add all of these classes in, and for each of those classes we would have to add in another if-else statement. So that's the first problem. The second problem is this operation is slow, right? So if you're doing this many times, for example, if you passed in an array of persons, maybe like 1,000 people, and then you tried to apply this instance of operator to that entire array, well, your program, it would suffer performance degradation because this operator is slow. It uses something called reflection, and that just isn't good for your program's performance. And now item 3, this is easily, you can get the same effect by using polymorphism, and it's going to be a lot easier to maintain. So how do we get the same thing with polymorphism? Well, what we can do, all we have to do is we go into our person class and we declare a function, public void do something. We declare a function called do something, and now each of our classes can just override it. So now we go source, override or implement method, and easy, do something. And now we can take the same code. Where was principal? It was right here. This person is a principal. And now we run it, and hold on, we actually need to do principal.doSomething. So now we just do principal.doSomething, and we see it works just fine. It does the same thing, but it's faster because it automatically just uses this method that we're overriding from the person class, and it's a lot easier to maintain because now we can add it to the teacher class, and we don't have to worry about all of these if-else statements. So finally, if you ever use the instance of operator, you can 99% of the time instead use polymorphism and just declare a function or a method inside of your base class, or inside of your base class, and then extend it whenever you need to. And then this problem just goes away. It's very easy to fix. There are some cases though in which you need to use this operator. For example, suppose you don't have access to this base class. Suppose you're using a library, for example, and you're not able to change the code inside of here. Well, now you have a problem because you can't really use polymorphism. You can't really add anything to the base class. In that situation, you might use this. You could create another class that extends your base class, then add a function, and then everything in your program could extend that. But if you have lots and lots of code, that can become an issue. So that's maybe like one of the times when you might want to use this instance of operator. Other than that, the general rule of thumb is if you need to use it, then you should probably use polymorphism. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next lecture.